I've been wanting to build one of these for quite a while. This is my custom mud kitchen, built in one day. It's made entirely from scrap wood, has shelves, hooks, and yes, a real working faucet. This is how the day started, bringing out all my tools, plugging in the saw, and basically staring at a wood pile, sorting, debating what to use. Honestly, I spent more time just staring at the lumber than cutting it. There wasn't an exact plan, other than the counter being 24 inches tall and the back wall or back board being about double that. After a lot of consideration and a couple of false choices, I realized that this beautiful rough sawn piece of wood was perfect. Here I am measuring and ripping it down the center and then cutting it to a 24-inch countertop height, which is just tall enough for my daughter to enjoy now and grow with. I wanted to use every bit of this beautiful lumber, so the width is just what it was. It turned out to be about 30 inches across. Using what I had, I grabbed some scrap lumber to prop it up off the ground, making it easier to drill and screw into the ends. I used another piece of the same lumber as a guide or spacer so that the lower shelf is about 4 inches off of the ground. I pre-drilled every hole before screwing it together to prevent splitting and ruining any of my wood. And even though this is supposed to have a rough, creative look, I wanted everything to be square. So you can see I use my speed square a lot to make sure everything lines up. Of course, one of the drill batteries died right away. So you can see I kept swapping it back and forth between the drill and the driver just so I could keep working while the other one charged. All of this wood we found around our town, dumpster diving, anywhere they were doing some construction or somebody was cleaning out their garage. We were gathering it for the chicken coop there, which is that big half-finished project that I'm resting wood on. After we used all the big pieces that we needed for that project, I couldn't wait to start the mud kitchen. So I lost some footage here, somewhere between my phone, the cloud, and the computer. As you can see, I completed the frame, did the countertop, and got the back wall done. Here I traced the bowl's outer edge for the sink opening, measured a 1/2 inch inside that line, and gave myself a clean edge so the bowl would catch on its lip and fit snugly. I only get one shot at cutting, so I was holding my breath, hoping that I got it right. Next, I sanded all the edges so there'd be a nice clean finish, and no little fingers would get any splinters. After sanding the inside of the circle, the bowl just slipped right into place and held on its lip. Then I measured and drilled a hole for the faucet. However, I quickly realized I was missing a couple of plumbing pieces, so I worked on the lower shelf instead. Construction of the lower shelf was similar to the countertop. First, I selected and cut pieces of wood to length. To space them evenly, I used these nice thick fencing staples so that there would be a 1/4 inch gap between each board, and used a nail gun to secure them in place. The shelf only goes about 2/3 of the way across the bottom to leave a space for drainage under the sink. Then it was time to pick up the little one from preschool and hit the hardware store for those missing parts. Full of sugar and excitement, my daughter helped me dry fit the plumbing pieces and then gave very specific design feedback. She decided where the shelves would go, asked for hooks, and even asked for a cup holder. Next, I reassembled all the plumbing pieces using plumber's tape to prevent leaks. For a complete list of plumbing parts I used, you can check the description below. I know I went a little overboard putting real working plumbing in the mud kitchen. But the idea is that I can hook a hose up to it, turn it on, and let her have independent play while I work in the garden or tend to the chickens. There was a little gap in the back after I assembled it, so rather than run to the hardware store, I decided to make a spacer out of 1/4-inch plywood that I had on hand. It actually threaded on really snugly and worked perfectly. This short green hose was left over from a raised beds irrigation, which we removed last year. I cut it in half because I needed 2 lengths, and then used male and female hose repair kits to make connections on either end. Then I attached the shelves from the back, according to my daughter's specifications, before mounting the spray head on the side. Then I cleared space for the water test, and that's when I got the payoff, a hug and kiss from my little one. We connected it to the garden hose and turned on the supply, and yep, it really works. Even if there was a leak in the back. I put hardware netting in that open space at the bottom, and then we moved it out to the yard for some real play testing and final touches. The next day I went back to the hardware store again to get the right fittings for the hose. I discovered that the threading on a hose is not the same as the threading on the galvanized pipe pieces. But the plumbing department had 3/4-inch thread that was intended to connect to PEX, and PEX is about the same width as a hose. So using stainless steel clamps, I was able to put the hose onto the fittings just like the hose repair pieces. While I was at it, I shortened the length of hose to the spray nozzle. Then used my grinder to cut off some sharp screws that had poked through the backboard. The spray nozzle was the most expensive part, but I wanted an extra fun water feature because our summers get really hot. Did another water test. Yay, no leaks. One last handmade touch, a little loop of wire to hold her rake and shovel. Now for the final reveal. This mud kitchen has everything my daughter asked for and a couple extra things she didn't even imagine. It has shelves, hooks, and storage for all of her toys, a real working faucet to foster independent play, and turned out so cute. All of the wood was free. All the screws and miscellaneous hardware we had from the coop build and other projects. I spent $20 on the 2 stainless steel bowls and about $60 on the plumbing hardware, which is totally optional. I really hope this inspires you to build your own.